Welcome, everybody, to episode 4 of the Spicy Salsa podcast. And you're probably wondering, well, where the fuck have I been? Maybe you're not. I don't know. Well, it's been a long couple weeks, and basically what has been going on is I have been trying to upgrade some of the equipment here. As anybody who's watched my playthrough with Josh on Pokemon Coliseum, we tried something different. Well, we didn't have access to a second laptop, so what we tried for episodes 1 through 5, I think, was use two microphones, use one microphone on one computer and share the mic, and the audio was so bad, and it was just, I couldn't take it. A lot of people online say they've done that with Let's Plays. I don't know how they do it, because it just sounds so bad. Maybe they have it figured out, but I don't want to figure that out. So I tried looking into getting a couple of dynamic microphones, and we've got one on the way. But what happened was, as I'm about to order these, my credit card doesn't work, and so I'm just like, okay, it's probably no big deal. So I called the bank, and it turns out somebody tried to take my credit card information, so they had to shut it down or whatever. So I was gonna buy like a bus mixer and 2 new microphones and everything, so that we could just sync the audio and it would sound a lot better for you guys. So that's gonna have to wait for a little bit. So I decided it's probably about time I make a new podcast anyway. So welcome. The channel is also slowly coming to 1,000 channel views, which is awesome. That was my first main goal, so now my goal is to just double that, for now, get to 2,000. Obviously I can't do that by just sitting on my ass, so hours at work have picked up too. So what I've been trying to do lately is upload as much as I can. I still have 2 episodes of Pokemon Coliseum to edit and upload. The reason those aren't up yet is because when we did get 2 microphones, which we used 2 microphones for episodes 6 through 10 of Pokemon Coliseum, it made it a lot harder to edit because the audio wasn't synced together. Josh's audio track is on a different audio track than mine. So we are going to I'm going to have to take the time to edit that sometime, and I'll get those up. I did do 6 and 7 are up on YouTube if you haven't seen those, but 8, 9, and 10 are not up because they're taking a lot longer to edit, even though they're only 10-minute episodes. Normally it wouldn't take very long, it's just a couple hours, but I just haven't had time. The holiday seasons are picking up, which means I'm going to have a lot more work. So I'll be able to upload a lot more after like Christmas when things start to slow down and stuff. But for now, that's just where we are and what happened. And so I haven't given up, or I haven't like left or just been lazy. Well, I've been a little lazy, but there's more to it than that. So let's get started with the good stuff. So recently, I've been hearing a little bit, not a whole lot. I saw an IGN article. They updated that article since then. I actually just read it just to refresh my brain because this is a couple weeks old. Right before I started the podcast, and it seems that Crash Bandicoot is coming to Xbox One. This is probably one of the weaker topics of the show. I'm not going to take a lot of time to talk about this, but I did want to talk about it because I find it interesting, but also not so interesting, and that might make sense in a moment. So, the way this game was really billed was as this remaster, you could call it a return to form, but remaster for the Crash Bandicoot series, the original 3 or whatever, on the PlayStation 4, and it seemed like it was only going to be on the PlayStation 4. Obviously, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. There was, I think it was some footage, I don't know if it was leaked or what, but of the game playing, and you could see like the button prompts, like it would say like the A button, and it's like the Xbox A button. So you know that's not a PlayStation controller, that's an Xbox controller. So is this a big deal that Crash Bandicoot is coming to Xbox One? It seems to be. The other citing of evidence, IGN just had an update, I don't know, maybe within the last week or so, that said that retailers have started posting it on their websites as pre-order for the Xbox One. So that's a little bit larger of a hint that this is probably a thing, and those pictures or whatever it wasn't like forged or anything. But is this a big deal? Well, obviously most games are multi-platform now. I mean, you'll have your exclusives, like you won't see God of War on Xbox, you won't see Halo on PlayStation, and you won't see Mario on anything else other than Nintendo. But my point is this, I guess, let me reword this. Instead of saying, is it a big deal, is it surprising? No. I don't think it's surprising. I think that PlayStation did a really good job of playing it off like this is our exclusive. I mean, Xbox did the same thing at their E3 showing with all those games that were like, they're exclusive, and it's like, kind of, they're coming to PC, so what kind of exclusivity are we talking about here? Are we talking about they're only on Xbox, or are we talking about they're just not on everything else but PC and Xbox, which is obviously what they were referring to. PlayStation kind of did the same thing here. Made it seem like it was kind of theirs, and that's, so did the developers. That's just kind of how they didn't come out and say it won't be on other consoles, but they didn't say it would either. So Crash Bandicoot seems to be coming to Xbox One. So like I said, one of the weaker topics, but I did want to touch upon it. And plus we've had Crash games on Xbox before, so it's weird because they re-released these first 3 Crash games, right? And you think to yourself like, oh, he's just PlayStation, he's PlayStation mascot, he is PlayStation, and then you got to remember like, well, it wasn't that long after the first 3 Crash games that Crash started showing up on all platforms, Game Boy Advance, with like Crash. They had Crash Purple, and then they had like Wrath of the Cortex. I think that was on the original Xbox as well. Not all of them were exclusive, but still, Crash is not really PlayStation's anymore. It hasn't been since the PlayStation 1. So the fact that the remastered, and for anybody who thinks, well, Crash is PlayStation because this remaster, obviously that's not the case anymore, because the remaster is coming to Xbox One. So now we're going to move on to a bigger topic, because I've been late on this, because like I said, I was expecting to get all these microphones and jigamahoogies and whatnot before I did this podcast, and I was stalling for time to see if I could get those in before I did it. So anyways, Sonic Mania is out finally. I was so excited and I was waiting for it. I just waited in my my room. I was like, man, where's the fucking mailman? And when it finally got here, I got the collector's edition. That was super exciting. That's what I mean, because I didn't get the digital code, so I had to wait for them to deliver the collector's edition. So I'm just gonna give a quick review of this. First of all, okay. What is the first thing I noticed? Besides the graphics looking a lot nicer, and compared to the first 3, not like a lot nicer, but they do look really nice. The first 3 and Sonic CD, and Knuckles as well, and also what was I gonna say? The stages being like, different, like Act 2 is different for a lot of them, or things like the drop dash and stuff. So besides the stuff that we knew before the game came out, the very first thing that I noticed was bosses. And now you're probably thinking, well, you just said things we knew before the game came out. We knew the bosses were going to be different, right? Yes, because we got that trailer of Green Hill Zone, or the gameplay footage. But when you actually play the game, there's a lot more to it than that. Like when you see the first boss for Green Hill Zone Act 2, and it's just like, instead of there being like the Eggman on the ship with the little ball swinging left and right, it's two of those and they twist, and you're like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's kind of different. You get the idea. No, a lot of the bosses in this game are really different from what you would expect them to be. I don't want to give anything away for this game, by the way, and I'm tying this in with the boss thing, but because it's so strange, like, it's not a story-based game. There is, like, semi a story. There's, like, a story there. But I really feel like this is a game that you should just play for yourself and not spoil. Obviously, it might be a little too late for that now. It's been about a week. And by the time I upload this, it might even be longer. But if you haven't seen the full game, hold off and just buy it. It's only $20, first of all. Collector's edition's like 60 or something, if it's still available. I think I saw some on Amazon for like $56 on the PS4 at least. But yeah, try to go and experience this for yourself, because you would think like, well, it's like the same, it's just a new Sonic game, but like, no, there is a lot of really unique and really different things for the platforming genre in general that was put into this game. This game isn't just like, oh, it's a really good revitalization of the Sonic franchise. No, this game is amazing in its own right. Sonic Mania is such a fantastic game. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised that it was really good. I knew it was going to be really good. I knew that it was going to bring back the old Sonic. But I did not expect it to be as addicting and as innovative and well, innovative in terms of Sonic games, as it was. Like, it really blew my mind. And then, speaking of things that are semi-different but not really, one of them is the special stages are fantastic. They brought back the Sonic 3 special stages with the, what is it, the little blue balls that you walk around and you collect, and then you go around in a square and you get the rings for them, and the stage speeds up faster the longer you take, and making it more difficult. And those aren't for Chaos Emeralds in this one, though. In this one, the Chaos Emeralds are in a different special stage, which can be activated by finding the big golden ring, so just like Sonic 3, and they are hard to find in this game. I have not found all of them. I'm not looking them up. Maybe I will in the future, but as of right now, I haven't been looking them up, and they are hard to find. Like, I've almost beaten the game, and I have 4 of the Chaos Emeralds at this point, and part of the reason isn't because the special stages are hard, although they do take time. You're not just going to pass all the special stages in one go. But part of it is because I've only found the special stage like 8 times, and like 8, that's plenty to get the Chaos Emerald. Like, no, each special stage oftentimes it will take you 1 or 2 tries to figure it out. And then, not only that, but you still have to find the ring, which is even harder in my opinion. I mean, you can take the time, but each stage has a 10-minute time limit too, so I mean, you can go and explore. This is a Sonic game that very much encourages you to explore a lot, but also stay on track to getting to the end of the stage. It's really interesting how the pacing works. But basically, the thing is, like, for me, I've probably only found 8 of these, and there's, I don't know, it's like 10, 12 something zones in the game, and each one has 2 acts, and I've only found 8, and I'm near the end of the game. I mean, I've only got like 6 acts left, whatever those zones are, I don't know. So it's hard. Good luck finding those, but it's challenging, but in a really good way. The music is fantastic. The old music is obviously just the old music, and then a lot of the stages for like Act 2 are remixed, and they're remixed so well, and they're so fucking good. T. Lopes did such a good job with all the music. And then what was the new stages? The new stages also have fantastic music. They have their own songs that really, like, you wouldn't even know that they're new stages if you hadn't played any of the old Sonic games. Everything would just blend in. That's how well done not only the stages but the songs are. So, what else was I gonna touch on? So, one last thing, and then I'll give maybe a review grade. The whole like thing with the classic levels and the newer levels, back when that was a thing, and they were like, oh, there's probably like 60% of the levels are probably classic remakes, and 40% of the levels are new levels, just by design. So you'll get one Green Hill Zone, and then, or you'll get a Green Hill Zone and a chemical plant, maybe, and then you'll get Studiopolis, and that would be like the ratio-ish. It'd be close to that. It's a little off, but so I find that now that argument is kind of gone. There might be some people who are still like, I wish they were all brand new stages, because the new stages in this game are fantastic. Studiopolis is one of the best stages in the game, in my opinion. It's so awesome. But I was one of those people who was kind of like, oh, that kind of sucks. But, it really doesn't matter as long as they design the levels in certain ways. You can change things. And that is the case here. Green Hill Zone's the intro. Like, what's a zone I don't want to give away? Well, Chemical Plant. They showed a trailer of that. So, Chemical Plant Act 1 is very similar to the regular Chemical Plant, although there's a lot of little changes in there that you'll notice. But, like, Act 2 is just, like, its own thing. Like, do you still feel like it's in Chemical Plant? Yeah, but it feels like Chemical Plant in an alternate universe. I mean, the things where, like, you pump the chemicals in the water and other chemicals, and then they turn into these gelatinous things that you can, like, jump on, you can bounce off walls, and it's fucking amazing. Like, all of the old stages are revamped in some sort of way. And it's not just like I was saying, it's not just tiny little revamps. They feel like all new stages. You will be able to tell the difference. Green Hill Zone, does not play like the original Green Hill Zone. I mean, I use that example again. It's a bad example because it's the intro of the game, so they're trying to still teach new players too. But Chemical Plant, Act 1, maybe it'll feel like Chemical Plant. Act 2, it'll still feel like Chemical Plant, but you'll notice in the gameplay differences how the pacing and just everything changes. And, like, Chemical Plant is no longer really based on surviving through the water in the later part. It's there's a lot more to it than that, with the platforming and the gelatinous stuff and putting chemicals in other chemicals or whatever. And the boss for Act 2 is really clever for that one, by the way. So, if I had to rate Sonic Mania, I don't really like rating, but I don't know. I'd probably say like an A out of an A+, or it's not perfect. Maybe a 90 out of 100, whatever you want to give it there. So, those are my thoughts on Sonic Mania. It's an amazing game. If you had any doubts about it, just pick it up. It's so good. It's so amazingly well done. So, okay. Now that we're done gushing about Sonic Mania, or I am, rather, a couple more Sega games to talk about. First of all, I'm not going to touch on this one in particular a lot, but Yakuza 1 Remake, Yakuza Kiwami, whatever one it is coming out Tuesday. I'm just throwing that out there now because I am going to do a Let's Play of that. So for anybody who wants to see that, just wait or subscribe, and you'll get to see that when I do that. I don't know. See, I wanted to do that one with Josh because he hasn't played Yakuza, and I think his reactions would be really good. like if you've ever had a friend who show them Yakuza who doesn't know what Yakuza is, for all you Yakuza players out there, and show them the really like goofy shit that goes on in that game and just the awesome story, and just see their reactions. It's interesting how new people are look at this game and they kind of tilt their head, but then they also like face their head back up and then they get engaged in like the story. It's such a weird game, but it's also like a serious game. How do you explain that to somebody? It's awesome. So I wanted to throw that out there, but we are going to touch upon the Yakuza 6 Special Edition, which got announced, and also Yakuza, it is Kiwami, I wrote it down, Kiwami 2. So they already, I think it was leaked, but then they just kind of announced it. I don't know if they announced it because sometimes, you know, when things get leaked, they announce it just to be like, well, they already leaked it, might as well. That was just yesterday, as of me recording this video, so yesterday would have been August 25th. So that's something to look forward to, and they said that it'll run on the Yakuza 6 engine. We'll get to Yakuza 6 in a minute, which is awesome, because the Yakuza 6's engine does look really good. I'm going to assume, well, plus, like, I was just playing Yakuza 0 today because of the news. People might already know this. I didn't know this, but at the beginning of Yakuza 0, I realized that it says, like, what is it, 10th anniversary, whatever the anniversary is for Yakuza. It's probably longer than that. It's probably like 20 years, 15 years. And then it says revitalizing the franchise or something like that. It actually says that when you start at the game. I didn't realize that. I didn't think of anything like that. And I was like, oh, maybe they had some plan to like remake all the Yakuza games, because obviously that's what it seems like is happening. Yakuza really took off recently when there was like the news about Yakuza 5 wasn't coming to America, because they were like, well, we don't think anybody will buy it. So it took them like 3 or 4 years to finally get it here to America on the PS3, and it was digital only. So that's where I started to notice a lot of people like really talking about Yakuza, bringing it up a lot more than it was before. And just last year, I believe it was, they decided that they reprinted like Yakuza 1, 2, 3, and 4 being on the PS3, the other ones being PS2. They reprinted all the original versions, like with the PS2 cases and everything, just because they knew that they were really hard to find because they were pretty obscure, and some of the older ones, at least Yakuza, like Yakuza 4 is not hard to find. Actually, Yakuza 3 is on the PS3. I said that was PS2. I think that's PS3 as well. So that was already a sign that, okay, people are starting to really want these games. Like, is Yakuza huge? No. Is it getting more of a fan base? Yeah, I think it's becoming more of a cult, even more of a cult franchise than it already was, at least in America. So, I'm going to grab my phone for a minute here because I just want to make sure I got this right. But Yakuza 6 just announced their special edition, which is awesome because they usually don't do, or I've never gotten a Yakuza special edition. They had the business edition of Yakuza 0, but that's not really a special. I guess it's special, but it's not like a highly anticipated collector's edition. So I just want to get my phone here because, well, first of all, Yakuza 6, I don't know if that was announced with the collector's edition. I can't remember if that was announced a while back or not, but regardless, we knew it was going to come eventually. So, Yakuza 6 Special Edition. And this looks awesome, too. It's about $90. And it comes in a nice box. I think the dragon is, I don't know, it's probably the tattoo of one of the characters, probably Majima, Goro Majima. I don't remember, but it looks like it comes with 2 like coasters, which look awesome. And then it comes with, they look like dice. I thought they were dice, but they are ice cubes. Like, I think you're supposed to like freeze them and then put them in the shot glasses that it comes with, which is actually really cool and unique for a special edition. Let's see what they are. Dragon Engine. It's yeah, and it's gonna be on a whole new engine too, which is like I said, Yakuza 2 remake that just got announced. There was just a trailer for it. I actually haven't watched the trailer yet. I will watch that in a minute. Yeah, 2 bar glass, 2 ice stones. That's what they're called. So I'm just gonna assume that you're supposed to like freeze them and put them in there. But it comes with 2 bar glasses. They look like shot glasses to me. I'm not sure if that's the same thing. I don't drink, so I wouldn't know. But and then 2 coasters and a nice little and then the box, and then an art book, because you can't have a special edition without an art book. I love art books. Some special edition art books really suck. Like if you get like BlazBlue Central Fiction, that's an awesome art book to have. It's a little softcore porny, but the art book itself is awesome, and BlazBlue's an awesome game anyway. So that's all I wanted to touch upon with Yakuza 6. It looks a lot more... It's hard to say if it'll probably be improved. Look, the thing about the Yakuza games, for anybody who hasn't played them, and this is one of the reasons I'm bringing it up on this channel, is just because I can help spread the word, even though, my channel doesn't get a lot of views. Even if it's just like 2 people or 1 person was like, I started playing Yakuza because I heard this podcast or whatever, that'd be awesome to me. Like, So, the thing about the Yakuza games, if you haven't played them, I suggest picking up start with this Yakuza 1 remake. Maybe not even start with Yakuza 0. Now, Yakuza 0 is fucking awesome, don't get me wrong, but let me explain. So, Yakuza 1 was the beginning of the series. Yakuza 0 is obviously a prequel, hence the 0. It just came out. Yakuza 1, the remake, is only like $30. Go get it. It's gonna be good. Like, if it's not... I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's just running on the Yakuza 0 engine. So it's not even like you're playing the old PS2 version for people who are like, I just can't get into old games. This is a very good time to get into Yakuza. This is the perfect time. I suggest going to get Yakuza 1, and I do suggest getting Yakuza 6. I will say that all the Yakuza games, it is better to play them in order for story's sake. However, usually, like, Yakuza 4 had all the cutscenes from 1, 2, and 3 up to that point. I don't know if 6 will do that. I'm not saying they will, but they usually do a pretty good job of either distancing themselves from past stories, or if they don't want to distance themselves, because they want to progress the story and some of the old stories, because it is all one big story. They're usually pretty good at not like throwing the players this crazy loop and having you be like, what? I don't know any of this story. That's like, for example, like Kingdom Hearts 3, that's like my biggest fear, because I'd never played any of the side games and stuff, and like I want to play Kingdom Hearts 3, but the story is so fucking ridiculous at this point. Yakuza's not like that. You should be fine. My first Yakuza game was Yakuza 4. And yes, there was times I was like, that must have been something from the past games, but most of the time I was just enjoying the new story they had told there. The prison break scene is what really got me hooked on the Yakuza story. So there's the story, and then for also people who don't play it, it's goofy. It's goofy as fuck. It plays like Grand Theft Auto, but not quite as free roam. Like, you are in the streets of Tokyo, but you don't like get in cars and like run people over or get guns and stuff like that. But you and you can't like punch random civilians and stuff, but you just kind of walk around the city. They have all these little mini games. My favorite is like, well, usually they have karaoke in the Yakuza games. It's very much Japanese lifestyle. If you're into Japanese culture at all, Yakuza, in a very goofy way, does a very good job of capturing the spirit of the Yakuza life in Japan and just some life in Japan in general, such as karaoke. Or they have, like, in Yakuza 0, they have, like, this, like, sex video service thing where you look at, like, porn stars and naked women. It's fucking weird. And you watch it and you're just like, what the hell is this? Like, what am I watching? Why is this in this game? Or, like, there's my favorite in Yakuza 0. No, it's not the porn stars. Is the disco minigame. It's just so ridiculous. Like, there's, because Yakuza 0 takes place in 88, so disco was big there. Or at least it had, like, a fall, in Japan. So, like, you can do, like, disco mini games, and you have to, like, work your way up to become the disco king and face off against Miracle Johnson, which is a play off words of Michael Jackson. It's so silly. So even the side games are fun. My point is that, and if I didn't explain this very well, go look into Yakuza. Don't just watch the trailers. Like, look into it, see what people say, see their reactions, because you will find a lot of different things. Now is a really good time to get into Yakuza. Okay, so let's move on to Dragon Ball FighterZ. I can't remember if I've talked about this on the podcast. I think I have. I think I did last one. No, actually, I think I talked about it a little bit in my BlazBlue, when I talked about, like, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle being announced. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyways, so we got some new announcements for Dragon Ball FighterZ that I wanted to touch upon. First of all, we got the Androids trailer, which had Androids 16 and 18. Now 18 plays with 17, and there's a lot of people who I can tell have never really played, like, an Axis or Arc System Works, rather, style fighting game, because I saw a lot of people being like, what is, like, Android 17 a support? To me, from what I saw from this trailer, it looked more like Android 17 was not as well. I mean, he is supporting you, but, like, so in BlazBlue, for example, you have a character like Carl, and if you haven't played BlazBlue, just bear with me, it'll come full circle. And Carl is this little boy, right? Well, he doesn't do all the fighting. You can punch and kick with Carl, but as you're doing that, your robot you can also control by, like, holding the A button. So what does this have to do with Android 17 and 18? Well, I don't think that you are going to necessarily control Android 17. That could be the case. It's hard to tell from the trailer. It doesn't look like that's the case for me. It looks like, for example, like with a 5-hit combo, like you're punching as Android 18, right? You press X 4 times, and then maybe the 5th time you press X, it's Android 17 who punches. So it's really more of just the animation that the game does than it is like you're actually playing as or he's a support character. Because to me, a support character is like, oh, if you have this guy fight with you, every now and then you can press RB and he'll use his super attack. That's not really what this is. I think that's what a lot of people were confused with. It looks to me more like it's gonna play like you do the combos and Android 18 is just a part, or Android 17 is just a part of those combos. Android 18 is just your main person. You can kind of see that the way that 17's in the background for a lot of the fighting. Android 16, though, that was interesting. I wasn't really expecting... I figured, like, 18 would be a fighter, because, you know, she's technically, like, a Z fighter now. Android 16, I didn't really see that. That's actually cool, though. I don't know. I wonder how many... honestly, like, I wonder how many fighters they can stuff in this before it becomes unbalanced and they have to... Now, Arc System is a top-notch fighting company. There's not very many fighting games that are as balanced as BlazBlue, people, but... the more and more fighters you add, harder it becomes to balance. So I just wonder, like, at what point they're going to be like, no, if this is going to be a legitimate fighter, we can't have 50 characters. But they could always, like, ban, you know, maybe it just won't be their most balanced game. If you look at, like, Tekken, or Tekken, like, Tag 2, and if they had tournaments for that, that game had so many characters. You know, not all of them were playable in tournaments because there's so fucking many of them. So they could do it like that. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of characters announced right now. Part of this I was going to say is they also announced Krillin and Piccolo, who I think most people knew about. I don't know if that was a leak or not, but that was a while back when people found out about that. I think it's because they found out they were in the beta. So, but to go with that, speaking of collector's editions, Dragon Ball FighterZ, I got a collector's edition announced. Actually, we'll get to that in a minute. First, though, so just yesterday, once again, as recording this video, so that would have been August 25th. Although they revealed them in the Androids trailer, we also got a separate trailer for Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Goku and Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Vegeta. I'll never get used to those names. And I'm looking up the Dragon Ball FighterZ Special Edition on my phone, because I also pre-ordered that. How could I not? That one looks awesome too. So, yeah, we got a trailer for them too. I'm not going to say much about it. It was just kind of showing off their fighting moves and stuff. But I did want to just bring that up for anybody who might have thought I hadn't seen it yet or whatever. So, although there is one thing. At the end of both trailers, it says you get 2 early unlock characters, which is the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Goku and Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Vegeta. Jesus Christ. And it also says you get 2 exclusive lobby avatars. Now, for anybody who hasn't played the Arc System fighting games, I haven't, like I said, Guilty Gear, I don't know. But specifically for BlazBlue and like Persona 4, Arena Ultimax, and, well, for now, we'll just leave it at that. When you're in... So, in the social fighting lobbies, you can go in these little areas where you can, like, customize your little house and stuff. Like, you're walking around as, like, pixel versions of the characters. Like, so, like, I'll try to put this in Dragon Ball for people who don't play BlazBlue or don't know it, or Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. Basically, picture this. So, like, there's going to be a bunch of servers, right? And, like, this server will be like, oh, this server's Master Roshi's house. This server is Namek, maybe. And you get your own little... do you get your own little house? I think you can customize, like, a little house, and people can come into it. I can't remember. Like, I think people can join your room. I think you have your own rooms or whatever. And so, basically, but let's say you go to the Master Roshi's Island server... I would assume that it's going to be the same, like, as in BlazBlue. That's assuming all of this. Like, if you're in the Master Roshi's Island server, there's, like, all these little arcade things everywhere, and they just say Dragon Ball FighterZ. And you can walk up to one and press A, and, like, once you press A, your little character, you get to pick your characters, so maybe, like, Goku, Vegeta, whatever, goes up to the machine, and then if somebody else walks to the other side of the machine and presses A, you actually go into and fight, just like a fighting game, the fighting game mode. So the 2 exclusive lobby avatars, for anybody who might have been wondering about that, because a lot of people are just getting into Arc because this Dragon Ball game was announced. This is huge for Arc System Works. The lobby avatars, that's what those are. So you probably get Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Vegeta, for example, as a lobby avatar to walk around the server. So that's what those are. But anyways, let's move on to this special edition here. So I didn't plan on talking about 2 special editions in one podcast. It just kind of happened that way. But first of all, the Steelbook looks badass. I'm a huge fan of Steelbooks. I'm a sucker for them because I know companies are like, here's this Steelbook, and most people are like, whatever, I don't care, just give me the case. I actually am. I'm a sucker. I'll admit that for Steelbooks. It's got like Goku and Vegeta, Super Saiyan on one side with Team Gohan, and then looks like on the front it has the logo along with Majin Buu, Cell, and Frieza. It looks like hell's breaking loose. It's awesome. I like how the background's purple. Collector's edition comes in the giant collector's box, of course, because it seems like they always do that. And then the main attraction, at least I personally think so, is a 7-inch Goku statue, and he's animated. It says manga dimension coloring, to me, it's just saying he's animated, or the statue is in the style of the animation of this game. He looks amazing. It looks really good, guys and gals. And it looks like it's gonna have the logo on the front, like the logo for the game. I mean, it looks incredible. I'll put a picture when I post this video solo. I'm gonna use the collector's edition as the picture for the video, so you'll probably already know what I'm talking about before you even get to this part, but I want to mention it anyway. And then it says 3 artboards. They look like, I would assume these are just like some drawings or whatever that they did, maybe like concept art before the game came out. And we only have one right now of Android 17 and 18. I'm gonna assume that one of the others is probably a Goku one, and then I don't know what the other one could be. So they're blocked out right now. I don't know why they did that. There's only 3. Probably if they had one of these for every fighter in the game, I would say like this is a really good collector's edition, or maybe even great. Yeah, we'll say that. I would say it's a great one. But because there's only 3 artboards, I'm gonna say, and this is $150, which is really pricey. Oh shit, it looks like it's sold out on the Xbox One too. Oh shit, is it on the PlayStation? Oh wow, it might have sold out already. Wow, at least for now. It wasn't sold out the other day. But anyways, yeah, if they had included like one of those for all the fighters in the game, I'd be more inclined to be like, this is a great collector's edition, almost perfect. I always like the soundtrack, so I like it when they put those in collector's editions. But no soundtrack for this one. Not that it doesn't look like it, at least. So, yeah, that's the only gripe. Like, I love art things. I love it when they put art things in collector's editions. Like I said, Yakuza had was having their art books. Some of them are really good. Some of them are shit. Dark Souls 1's the art was really nice, but the actual booklet it came with was shit. It fell apart. BlazBlue Central Fictions was awesome, although it's kind of softcore porny. Excuse me. It's really good. Regardless, that's just how BlazBlue is, though, with fan service, you know. So, yeah, it doesn't have an art book. It has these art boards. That's what they're called. There's probably like these little like 7x10 cards or something like that. But it looks really nice. I just wish there was more of them, and you know, we'll see what they are. But that's all I have to say about Dragon Ball FighterZ for now. We'll get a lot more information. The beta is soon. I'm not sure if it's up right now, but anyways, moving on. So, just a couple of things here real quick, and then I'm going to actually post, because the last part's going to be long. The ending of the podcast is going to be about Overwatch. And the reason why I'm saving it for the end is because it's going to be long, so I'm going to have it actually in a separate video, and I'll call it something silly, like, since the channel Spicy Salsa Gaming, I'm going to call it the aftertaste, and it's just going to be an after segment that I'll probably do sometimes after the podcast if I feel like the podcast is getting too long or whatever, because I like to have it around an hour. So I'm going to make that a separate video this time, but it will be an extension of episode 4 of the podcast anyways. Before we get to Overwatch, let's end the main podcast by talking about 2 things. I'm going to fly through them quickly. First of all, Fist of the North Star just got announced. Right before, I had to talk about this because it was right before I started filming this. I saw it was trending on Twitter, and I've never seen Fist of the North Star. I've seen very little of it, rather. So I was just like, why would that be trending? Is it Toonami? It's not on Toonami, is it? And, you know, because it's almost Saturday, but Toonami's not on. It's 8 in the morning right now. So I looked, and people are like, oh, the developers who make the Yakuza games are making a Fist of the North Star game, and it looks really good. And I gotta say, it does look good so far. It's hard to tell. So I just wanted to bring that up real quick for people who might really like Fist of the North Star, and I didn't see that coming for sure. And plus, since I knew I was talking about Yakuza this podcast, I thought I'd just throw this in here. I'm not going to say much about it. I will say that one thing that worries me is that, and that I didn't mention when I was talking about Yakuza, is that the fighting mechanics in Yakuza are okay. The fighting gameplay is okay. It's not that great. That's not, for me personally, the main reason to play Yakuza. Although in Yakuza 0, they really upped the game with the fighting mechanics. There's a lot of... So, I do wonder with A Fist of the North Star what type of game this is. Because if it's in the style of Yakuza, one of the more disappointing aspects would be the fighting. But, fuck, who knows? I mean, it's so hard to speculate. I didn't... If there's a trailer, which I believe there is... Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch it right after this. But I just really wanted to throw that out there real quickly. Maybe we'll talk about it on the next podcast. I have some concerns, some not concerns. I'm not a huge Fist of the North Star fan, but I am a fan of the developers for Yakuza, and I know some of their strengths, and I know some of their weaknesses. So, Fist of the North Star fans, rejoice. Now, last thing. Xbox, this is another probably weaker thing to talk about, but I did want to mention it because the Xbox One X is coming. We all know that. And it looks like Xbox has stopped selling the original models for the Xbox One. It seems like a lot of retailers are only listing them as like used now. So I don't know why anybody would want the original model because at this point, or at least brand new, because if it's still $500 or $400 whatever dollars, you might as well just buy an Xbox One X at this point. I did want to throw that out there though, and I still have my original model. I plan on getting an X sometime. I don't know when. The price is a little for me, since I already have an Xbox One. It'll play all the same games. But that's not the main reason I wanted to talk about this, but I did want to throw that out there. The main thing I wanted to talk about is that Xbox announced some new Xbox One S's, and I'm kind of torn on this because I wish they were Xbox One X's or maybe both. It's a little strange, but let's just get through it. So they announced a Shadow of Mordor one. Is that right? The Lord of the Rings game. I didn't play the first one. So I'm going to look it up real quick. But Shadow of Mordor, Xbox One. So I don't know if that's actually a special Xbox. Is that a special... Like, does the Xbox look different, or does it just come bundled with the game? I think it just comes bundled with the game. I don't know if the game's any different for that, but then there is also the Minecraft Xbox One S, which actually, I'm not a huge fan of Minecraft. I play it with my girlfriend sometimes because she really likes it. I suck at it. That's all it really is. Like, how do you suck at Minecraft? Well, I just don't know what to build. And when I do know what to build, I'm not good at building it. But I gotta say, the Minecraft Xbox One S looks so nice. I almost want it just to look at it. I have the original Xbox One model. At this point, if I was gonna buy a new Xbox One, it would be the Xbox One X. God, that name. Xbox One S, Xbox One X. So I would buy the Xbox One X. It wouldn't be the S, at this point. I could buy it for her maybe, but she has an Xbox One herself now. So, but I wanted to, I'll put a picture of that up too when I do the, when I detach this part of the show for YouTube, because it looks really nice. And I think you can buy the controller separately. It comes with like a creeper controller. The Xbox One is like really green. It has like a little bit of the I think it has a little bit of the dirt look from like the dirt in Minecraft. But yeah, it's very green. It's pixelated looking, and they have a piggy controller too. And you could buy the piggy controller, and it's adorable. And I want that one. That one has, and it has a little tail on the back of the controller, and the Creeper one has a TNT logo, which is actually really cool. So that just about wraps up this portion of the podcast. Stay tuned for Overwatch news roundup, because there was a lot of Overwatch news, which is why I'm saving it for the aftertaste, because I didn't want the podcast portion to go on for too long. So I am going to post that in a separate video for everybody. So thank you for watching the main podcast. Join me for my Overwatch news roundup and my thoughts on everything Overwatch coming up. It should be a couple, or that'll be uploaded before or after this podcast. Sorry. Excuse me. Jesus, I'm getting jumbled in my thoughts. It's the end of the thing. What am I supposed to do? So yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and I will hopefully see you over there for you Overwatch fans.